Oh, so you want to know what I did yesterday? Well, you won't believe that. Welcome back to a new Hints and Theories video. This time again about the Belgian De Mol. And if you're new here, hi, my name is Julia, and on this channel I talk about hints and theories that will hopefully help you figure out who the mole is. This time we did it a little bit differently, so this here is the second Hints and Theories video to the Belgian De Mol, and this time we will talk about all the hints and theories leading to the mole from episode 5 to 7, which means that we will focus on the finalists because there are not that many hours left until we will finally know who the mole is. Some time ago I uploaded a video in which I talk about all the hints and theories from episode 1 to 4. If you have not watched that yet, then I can only recommend to do that. You can check it out on my channel. And then I did it so that I picked out some important hints and theories, but there are a lot more things mentioned in the comments below, so if you check that video out, then I definitely would recommend that you also have a look at all the comments, because the discussions there were pretty interesting. Now, since there are only 3 people, the 3 finalists left, we can of course focus on some more detailed hints and theories, although we will skip through 3 whole episodes. And let's start with episode number 5. The first task in episode number 5 was the Hercules one. And you probably remember that Senna and Michael had a pretty important part in that task, because they had to hold those weights. And I think here we can see the biggest mole action of that assignment actually, because Michael lets those weights fall down right before the other candidates arrive, which meant no money for the pot at all. And if you ask me, then I think Senna did a pretty good job here, because he really showed off how strong he is and really held up those weights for quite some time. So definitely a mole action from Michael. If we have a look at Bernard in this task, then he also does seem a bit suspicious, because he does not only answer several questions wrong in his, little task together with Stephanie, but also when they arrived at that so-called mole quelling, that was the box where they could listen to a conversation between Jill and the mole. He also was one of the 2 only candidates, together with Stephanie, to have a look at the screen, and that meant minus money. This task was followed by the one with the spaghettis, where we got to meet the mothers of the candidates and Stephanie's sister. And here we had 2 things that were a bit, let's say, weird. The first thing was that Senna forgot to take the verdubblers with him, because he was the responsible person in that episode, and his explanation for that was that he did not expect another task to come up, which meant no chance to get some doubled money in that task. And then Bernard was, so to say, in the second round of people who could choose a table, and he did not recognize his mother's spaghetti, which meant he chose the wrong table. He actually sat down at the table with the spaghetti of Senna's mom, which then of course also meant that Senna could not choose the right table, did not have a chance anymore to sit by the right table. So 2 wrong tables in the end, thanks to Bernard. Last but not least, in this episode we had the task with building those little towers and the earthquake scenarios. And the biggest mole action here came from Senna, because he actually made it to the last round in this assignment, and then the mothers and the candidates had to choose if they either want a pasvragen or a nice dinner in Amsterdam. And Senna's mother chose for the pasvragen for her son, but Senna himself then thought that maybe his mother would have chosen the dinner, and in the end that was not correct, which then meant no money added to the pot and no pasvragen so no joker for Sanne. And with that, let's jump to episode number 6. Here we had as first task the one with the knives and the coffins, and here the most interesting suspicious thing was that Bernard could not get this bamboo stick to break, which then meant that they failed the second part of their task, the actually important part, and then they were left with 2 possible churches. That's the first suspicious thing he did. And the second one is when Jill offers them to cross one more church off the list so that they would definitely know where they had to go. And he says, well, I can cross another church off of that list, but that of course will cost some money. And Bernard is the only one out of the 3 candidates there. So Michael and Charlotte also were there, and Bernard is the only one who actually wanted to stay with the risk. So he actually wanted to keep that money and rather run to 2 churches if the first one would be the wrong one. So he basically chose the risk that the time would be over before they would make it to the church. And we as the viewers, of course, know that this would have been failed, so in the end they would have not have enough time to actually run to 2 churches. So he was the one who wanted to keep the money, but keeping the money in this case also meant risking not making it at all, and in the end it would have been like that. So that is suspicious as well, I think, and definitely something a mole would do. Then in this episode we had something special because we got to listen to the mole's voice. Well, mixed in between with other voices, actually with the candidates' voices made up by AI. And I watched the Café de Mole show to this episode, and they had invited some people from the company who did those AI voices, and they explained a bit how they did that, and that it also was not easy at all to get those voices as close as possible to the original voices. So I think it is really not a shame if you do not, hear what they're actually only real voices. Nevertheless, let me know in the comments below what you think was the only real voice, and with that, the voice of the mole. Now, if we have a look, then all 3 candidates that are left in the game went in on that game with more than 2,000 euro, so they all wanted to spend more than 2,000 euro on the chance to listen to the mole's voice. In the end, Michael had the highest amount in the game and was the one allowed to go into the car. And of course, as mole, I think you would like to be the one in the car listening to your own voice, because even though the AI voices are really, really good, it of course is still a risk that other candidates will recognize the only real voice, which means your voice. The last task of this episode was the paintball one. And in this one here, we have a potential hidden hint. Now, we had all the mole books hanging above the fire, and thanks to the little shooting game they had, we could figure out which mole book was in which bag. So they had bags from 1 to 5, and we as viewers could figure out which mole book was in which bag. And in the end, we did not get to hear number 2, but we know all the other ones, so we can figure out that in bag number 2 Bernard's mole book was hidden. And the interesting thing here now is that when they explained the task to us, they actually used bag number 2 to explain it. And we kind of get a look inside that bag, we get to see the mole logo, and then also that code which the candidates would have gotten to get more paintballs. And that code in this case, which they used as example, was 7321. If you count that together, you end up with 13. And in the mole universe, number 13 always is something special because the 13th letter of the alphabet is an M, which always can be a hint to the mole, so maybe it would be a hint to Bernard as the mole. Let's jump to episode number 7. Here the first task was the one with the puppet theatre. And here we had 2 groups. Let's have a look at the, let's say, walking group first. In that group we had Senna and Bernard. And of course the easiest way to mole here is to take some more steps, meaning to lose some more money, and there were several chances to do that. The first one was when they picked up that chair, then the second one and probably biggest chance to lose steps was when they actually arrived at the museum and had to go in there several times. They answered several questions wrong, both of them, and it took them 4 takes to finally got the answer right, and only then they saw that there actually was a lift in the museum so that they not have to use the stairs all the time. And then when they arrive at the cathedral, I think we have an anti-mole action from Senna and a mole action from Bernard. Both of them get on the roof, see the task, and then Senna goes down again and counts the steps of the stairs, and he counts correctly. And of course this would have been the moment of the mole to sabotage the whole game. But on the other hand, to be honest, then the whole other part of that whole assignment would not have been possible, so the whole puppet theatre part, and I think the production really wanted to do that, so probably the idea was that the mole should not mole in this specific, well, part of that group. Anyway, we get to see Bernard, who tries to remember the address. We get to see him walking towards the stairs, then running back one more time, using a lot of steps for that, and then going back to the stairs and finally downstairs. So in the end he wasted some more steps with doing that, which of course the mole would do. Then the second group here, the puppet theatre group, consisting of Charlotte and Michael. Here the interesting thing is that Michael actually was really good in controlling that puppet while they were training, but when it actually was showtime, it suddenly did not work out that good anymore. He also failed a bit of his tasks. And then there's one more, well, probably hidden hint in here, spotted by Ikben Molevi on Instagram, because we get to hear that whole mole story in that puppet theatre, and each puppet stands for one candidate. And if you have a look on how those puppets are designed, then it seems like that the puppet who's the mole can only be Michael, from the way they are designed, from the way their faces look, and of course that puppet also has a giant M on its chest, so maybe a hint to Michael controlling himself as the mole. The second task in this episode was really fun and something special, because they all had like a date for themselves and only met up in the evening again with some great stories. And the thing is, what is suspicious here? Well, one person who actually attracts attention here is Michael, not only because he was the only one lying, because all the other ones told the truth what they actually did, but also because he kind of made sure that they failed when listening to Bernard's story. Because he was telling the others that he had seen Romelu Lukaku playing a football match that day on TV, which wasn't correct in the end, but still that of course made the other 2 ones probably a bit unsure about Bernard's story, which was crazy in general, but still that maybe led them in the end to their decision not to believe Bernard. So that really is suspicious, and if Michael is the mole, then it worked out pretty good for him. And then one more hidden hint here, because if we have a closer look on the Pinocchio puppet, then we could see that he has a little mole on his left cheek, and if we have a look at the candidates as well, then we can see that Bernard also got one. Now, there were all hints and theories to episodes 5 to 7. Let me know in the comments below if I've missed out on something, and also tell me who your mole is, because I think this season it's pretty complicated. It's definitely not easy as all three of them have more potential, all of them did more actions, and there were hidden hints to all of them as well. A few episodes ago I would not have thought that Bernard gets suspicious again, but now if I think about all the things I mentioned in this video, then he came up quite often. In the end, I think it's really difficult this time, and I have to think about it all again before I'm finally choosing my mole. And then I am so looking forward to finally figuring out who it is, to finally getting to know the mole of this season. And I also hope that we will get a great last episode with amazing assignments. I loved a lot of the assignments throughout the season, especially because a lot of them had some, well, Italian connections, which I thought was great. And yeah, I'm really looking forward to the last episode. I hope you do too. Let me know in the comments below what you thought about the last episodes, all the hidden hints, all the theories, all the mole actions you have seen, and tell me who your main suspect is, who your mole is. If you do not want to miss any further videos, then please subscribe to this channel here, follow me on Instagram, and I guess we will see each other back in a video talking about all the hints, theories and mole actions leading to the mole of this season. Until then, bye!